Hello there, Peter from Universal Dork back again, and today I wanted to talk about a pretty gnarly little movie from 2008 that I think deserves a lot more attention and a bigger cult following. And the funny thing is, it is a sequel and the best in the entire franchise to 2003's Wrong Turn. Today's movie is
Wrong Turn 2 Dead End.
Yes, it's a hillbilly exploitation movie, just like the first one, and just like every installment in the franchise. Now, from what I understand, the franchise has gotten kind of crappy over the years. I think after Wrong Turn 2, everything went pretty downhill. Now, the hillbilly exploitation thing, I believe, was really kind of started and became very popular after Deliverance came out in the 70s. Now, maybe we can trace the roots of hillbilly exploitation to earlier than that, but that's the main one that comes to mind when I think of that. This one's got mutant ones, so these guys in this movie are extremely dangerous and really fucked up. So I've always thought that the first installment from 2003, the original Wrong Turn, was a pretty solid hillbilly exploitation film. But there was something that was missing from it, and over the years I couldn't figure out what it was till around 2007, the sequel came out. And then it dawned upon me, it was clear what was missing from that original movie, and that is Henry Rollins. Yes. This is one of the main selling points of Wrong Turn 2. Now, in fact, if Henry Rollins would have never appeared in this movie, I wouldn't love it as much as I do. Even though it would still be a pretty solid genre flick, Henry Rollins is the icing on the cake here, and I believe the main attraction. So Rollins being the most famous frontman for Black Flag, one of my favorite punk bands, and also Rollins Band, really makes this a real treat for anyone who wants to see an aging punk rocker go up against some mutant bonehead hillbillies. And that's exactly what you fucking get. Now, Henry Rollins is not alone in this movie. It is not just him. He is actually a survival ex-military veteran that is the host of this 2000s post-apocalyptic survival show.
All right, boys and girls, it's time to ask yourself, are you ready to survive? I am Marine Colonel Dale Murphy, your host and military advisor through the treacherous wasteland known as the Apocalypse, a new reality show currently in production. As of 0800 hours, we are in the deep woods and in the thick of danger with 6 contestants hungry for $100,000 and the bragging rights as the ultimate survivalist. And you could be next. Welcome to the Apocalypse.
And it takes place in the woods, and it's a game, and he's got a bunch of contestants on it. Some people that are sort of aspiring actors, and others just sort of interesting characters. Plenty of them in this cast are numbnuts and boneheads. That's a very popular character type in the 2000s, are completely moronic men and women. But it also has, at its core too, a cast of characters that are pretty endearing. One of the best things about this movie is the unpredictability of who is going to live and who is going to die. There's actually some pretty good character development in this one, and I'll say, it's a roll of the dice who is going to fucking meet their demise in this. It's very interesting to watch for the first time. I will warn you, you can't get attached to anyone, not even Rollins. No one is safe in Wrong Turn 2, and that's one of the things that I think makes a really great horror movie, is sort of the unpredictability of who's going to survive. You've got Rollins out here in the woods, kind of getting these people all pumped up for their adventure in the woods in this game that they're playing. You've got some cameramen there, got plenty of people besides the cast and contestants that are also prey to these deadly mutant hillbillies that are roaming around this area. So very simple premise here. And Wrong Turn 2 feels like it could have been the movie that would have sort of pushed Henry Rollins into the action hero genre, because in this one, he is actually kind of an action hero. He's got a lot of like Rambo vibes going on with himself, and there is a ton of action. This is not just a horror movie. This is an action movie. I love that about it as well. Now, one thing I do want to warn you about is if you're a little squeamish, this one is jam-packed with gooey, gross, disgusting gore. There is a lot of gore in this movie. Cannibalism, insane kills, almost no CGI in the movie at all. There is one particular kill in the woods that I think does feature a little bit of CGI, but it's really just there to sort of enhance things. It's beautifully shot. It's got some really stunning locations too, where they're hiding. There's waterfalls, there's rivers everywhere. Hence I said it kind of reminds me in certain ways of Rambo. So the villains in this film as well are pretty fucking crazy. They are sadistic, numbnut, complete bonehead hillbillies, inbred to the max. They don't speak any English, they just sort of grunt. You've got a lot of great twists and turns in this, crazy practical effects, wild action, and of course, like I said, the missing ingredient being Henry Rollins. Right around this time, Henry Rollins was sort of dipping his toes in the water of horror, and I was loving it. He did a movie in 2005, just before this, that got me very excited when I had found out that Rollins was going to be starring in this as well. This movie called Feast is absolutely one of my favorite movies of the 2000s, horror movies, maybe just in general. It is a fantastic fucking practical effects monster movie that you've just sort of got to see to believe. I highly recommend that, and it features Rollins again in a very charming role. He's actually pretty comedic, as you can tell with his spoken word stuff, as almost like stand-up comedy. I think that Rollins is that good of a storyteller and has got the charisma that it takes to be a comedic action star, and I think this one sort of proves that point. So check this movie out. It will not disappoint. Wrong Turn 2, I know a lot of people see this one. They see the DVD all around. Probably has a Blu-ray that's probably very cheap that you could get. But this movie will deliver the fucking goods. Watch it with a gang of your friends who are not afraid of the red stuff, because that shit is pouring aplenty in this movie. And of course, the one saving grace that you have here on your adventure through some pretty gnarly, disgusting horror is that you've got Rollins there to kind of make you feel warm and fuzzy inside. At least that's what it did for me, because he's a big icon of mine from when I was a kid. So just having him in this movie was an absolute treat. So I highly recommend this. I wish there were more movies like this from, the 2000s or whenever that starred punk icons. And one other thing I wanted to mention, the director Joe Lynch, who did another movie that I just rewatched as well called Knights of Badassdom, I think from 2010. That's got Peter Dinklage in it, Steve Zahn. It's got a pretty cool cast of characters. It's sort of a LARPing horror comedy. Things get really wild when they accidentally bring to life a succubus that turns into a giant creature in the woods that they end up having to fight. That movie's a lot of fun. It's not perfect. I heard that there is a version of that film out there somewhere that the studio didn't mess with, and they completely mangled Joe Lynch's vision. Now, I have to say that of all of his films I've seen, this one's great, but check out Knights of Badassdom too. That one's pretty fun as well. Worth a watch for sure. And one more thing. Co-contributor James, who you might have seen in some other videos, made a claim many years ago to me that his old band was actually featured on the soundtrack of the original Wrong Turn. So here it is. Check this shit out, Wrong Turn 2. It is better than you think. Especially if you're a fan of Henry Hank Rollins, you're going to want to check this out. You will get a kick out of it. All right, until next time, stay safe and watch out for those inbred mutants.